What is happiness? I think that's the primary question that many of us contemplate and few of us know the answer to. Although we do kind of understand the feeling that comes from happiness, although we often think that happiness actually is a feeling. So let's talk about that for a second. The definition of happiness. And the easiest way to start a definition is to look at the actual word. The word happiness is made up of three components: HAP, I, and Ness. Okay, so that sounds like a spelling bee, but it isn't actually. If you work it backwards, then Ness at the end of a word means a state. So it's the state of happy. Then you look at happy. Happy has the Y at the end of the word. Now, what does the Y at the end of a word do? It tells us that the noun is now converted into an adjective. So if you take, for instance, greedy, then you are filled with greed. If you take the word lonely, then you're filled with all one. So if you're happy, then you're filled with HAP. So really the only thing that we need to investigate is what is the meaning of the word HAP. And maybe that's not so easy, because when you look at things like dictionaries online, often they'll say that HAP means luck. Although that doesn't quite make a lot of sense, because there's other words that have the embedded word HAP in it, and there's no particular luck involved, although in some of them there are. Let me give you some examples. So there's the word happening, which means occurrence. There's the word haphazard, which means irregular or unplanned. Then there's the word happy, of course, which is considered this feeling that we're looking for. Although happy comes in a range, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then there's the word, for instance, mishap. So mishap does have the idea of luck in it, but the other words don't. So what does hap mean? If you look at the commonality, where do these words overlap? Haphazard, happening, happy, mishap. Then you'll see that the word overlaps in a time element, a time and a place element. The time and place elements are the moment. So hap means moment. When you look at the meaning of moment, moment means where the future becomes the past. So the moment is that transition point between future and past. There's another transition point in moment, actually the moment being here and not there. So moment actually can be translated in two ways: here and now. That's moment. Moment in physics is also a thing. It's the distance between the weight of a fulcrum to the fulcrum, and you can do that from both sides. So it kind of has a very similar meaning. So when you then take the word happiness, then if you reverse that and so that you can come to the actual meaning of it, it means the state of being filled with or imbued with the moment. And now it starts making sense. What is it that we're looking for? If we're looking for happiness, we're looking for the state of being imbued with the moment. So aren't we always in the state of being imbued with the moment? And the answer is no, because a state means that you have an awareness of it. So being in the moment, yes, we're constantly being in the moment. You are now in the moment. I am now in the moment. But are we aware of it? And happiness has to do with this awareness, the state of the awareness of being in the moment. So when we're looking for happiness, we're actually looking for that full, perfect, vulnerable engagement with the here and the now. So happy, the feeling, has a range. So it goes all the way from being unhappy or discontent through content, which is the middle phase or the middle state, to ecstatic. Now, ecstatic already says ecstatic, so it's out of state, and it's not being fully aware. It's kind of like beside myself with happiness. So being so involved in the moment that I become beside myself. So ecstatic is not a state that we can maintain for very long, but it is a state of creation, which is something that we're going to be discussing in another video. There you have it. The word happiness kind of explaining what it is that we're looking for when we say, I'm looking for happiness.